Hi, everyone. This is Mindy Egan for Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine. And today we are creating with the adorable Let's Stamp Together kit for November 2024, designed by Concord and Ninth. I will be creating a card for you and also turning this into a tag. So let's jump in and take a look at what was included in the Let's Stamp Together kit for November 2024. And I have to say, this has got to be the cutest snowman I have ever created with. So you have your die set. We have a stamp set with some large sentiments and some vertical sentiments. Now, those vertical sentiments will fit nicely in that speech bubble. There is also a die cut word joy with a shadow layer, and then we have a few leaves, some holly, the outline for the Santa, and then there is a banner die and banner sentiment as well. For stencils, we have two of them that help create a background, and then there's two of them which actually have four designs or two designs on each to help you create the face for Santa. To start my card project, I am bringing out my large 9 by 12 sticky mat from Altenew, and I have a piece of white cardstock from Concord and Ninth cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. A sticky mat really comes in handy when you are using these stencils, but you could also tape the stencil down to your work surface as well. So I'm lining up the first layer of the stencil, which is going to create a mask for my Santa, and this is going to do a background behind it. So I place that over my white cardstock. There are etched lines at the top of the hat and down at the beard, so it's going to help you line it up with the edge of your cardstock. And then I just push it down to make sure that that stencil is secured in place to the sticky mat. Now I'm going to come in with a light blue from Altenew and a large blending brush. I believe this is actually turquoise, and I'm going to go around the whole outer portion that is available right now as far as the cardstock opening. You could see there's the mask for the Santa in the center. And now I'm going to come in with a smaller blending brush and a darker shade of blue from this particular collection. Now, with a sticky mat, it does not have a very smooth surface. It's, of course, meant to grip your cardstock. So it's not the greatest to try and ink blend on when you're trying to come in to the edges. I wanted my edges to be a darker blue and then have the outline around the Santa be lighter. So I bringing in a piece, or this is actually a strip of Post-it tape, and I place that right along the edge. That way I'm able to kind of start off of the cardstock and blend onto it. The blending brush is just a lot smoother. I'm not sticking to the mat, and I can get that gradual fade on just the edge that I wanted. Once I'm done blending, I just remove the Post-it tape because I really don't need that anymore. But I wanted to add some white splatter or some shimmer to my background, kind of like little twinkle stars behind my Santa. So I'm bringing in this white iridescent spray from Hero Arts. I shook it up really good. I poured a little bit onto my work surface. And then I have a small paintbrush that I'm adding splatters to my background with. Now, I'm trying to get close to the cardstock so I can really hone in on those areas, which is why I chose the small paintbrush. The smaller the paintbrush, the smaller the splatters, but the closer you get to your cardstock, the bigger the splatters are going to get. So I had to kind of find a sweet spot there. I did remove the cardstock from my sticky mat so I could clean up my mat and also dry my splatters. And now I could start working on the Santa face and hat. So there are etchings on the stencils that are going to tell you stencil one, two, three, and four. It'll also list if it's the face, if it's the hat. So I found the first layer of the stencil and I'm placing that in that designated area, lining up those etched lines with the edge of my cardstock. So this first layer is going to give us a layer for the face and the ears. When you line it up, you are not going to have a white line like you would see with a die cut. I used Nectar there for my face and my ears. I picked up my stencil, rotated it, so I am now up at the hat. Now, with the hat stencil, we also have some pink cheeks that my fingers are covering so I don't overblend. This hat, I'm starting with honeysuckle, which I know may sound a little off because it's not a bright red, but hang in there with me. I'm starting out with honeysuckle. Then I'm going to come down and do pink lemonade for the cheeks. I wanted something just kind of softer than honeysuckle or any bright red, and pink lemonade is one of my favorite pinks for that. So now, still on this stencil for the hat, I'm going to come in with poppy. And I actually want to go around the edge of the hat where there might be a shadow from the rim of his hat. And I'm going to add just a little bit of that poppy to start working on a transition of color or some shading. Then I'm also going to come in with cranberry and really deepen that edge right where the hat is, or the hat rim, the hat edge is going to be. So I'm going to have a little bit of a highlight at the top of the hat, and then it's going to be darker towards the bottom. So now once I remove it, I have this gorgeous shading on there. I remove the stencil. I'm bringing in stencil 3, which is going to be some added shading to the face. It'll also add detail to the ears and also bring in the nose. For that, I used grapefruit. These are all colors from Concord and Ninth. And then the last layer of the stencil is going to be some detail for the mustache and also some eyes so we can give our Santa a face. Now, for the mustache, I am using Pebble from Concord and Night. And then I believe for my eyes, I am using Mushroom. And for that, I brought in a detail blending brush from Gina K Designs. And that came out just so darn cute. I absolutely love this from Concord and Ninth. They totally knocked it out of the park. Now, sometimes my sticky mat can be too sticky, so I will pick it up and kind of fold it in half, and that'll help pop my cardstock up a little easier. It does curve a little bit, but I can always bend it myself, or you can run it through your die cut machine to help flatten it out. There are 2 sentiments on the stamp set that fit really well in the beard, so I am gonna pick Merry Christmas. I am using a mini stamping tool to stamp that with my VersaFine black ink. I'm gonna stamp that down, and you might not be able to see it on camera, but there is a little a little smudge, I guess I would say, with the R. There was some leftover manufacturing residue on my stamp because I did not condition my stamp before I stamped it. So I cleaned it really well. I rubbed my hand over it to remove anything. And then since I still had everything in my MISTI, I'm going to ink it up and stamp it down again. So that is going to make my R a lot nicer looking. For the additional sentiment, I have Poppy cardstock, and this is that banner sentiment. I absolutely adore the font for this. I want to heat emboss this, so I am conditioning that with an anti-static powder tool. I'm bringing in a stamp conditioning eraser from Altenew. I brushed over my sentiment, I cleaned it, I dried the sentiment with my hand. You know, you always learn from your mistakes. And then once that is dry, I'm going to ink up that sentiment with the white pigment ink. I'm going to stamp that down actually 3 times because I am not applying a lot of pressure to this. I don't want to distort the letters. So by stamping it 3 times, I'm really getting that pigment on there, and it's going to stay wet for a little longer than if you were to use an embossing ink. And it also gives me just the most crisp results when I add white embossing powder. After my heat tool is all warmed up, I will melt that embossing powder, let that cool for a second or two, and then I'm going to use that banner die to die cut it out. I trimmed off some of that excess cardstock, and I'm going to die cut it with my mini intricate die cut machine from Gina K Designs. This sits off on the side of my desk, and it's so handy for these smaller die cut pieces. I also die cut out 2 more banners from that scrap cardstock, and I'm going to layer them together with my liquid glue to help build up dimension for the front of the card. I created a side folding card base from some heavyweight cardstock. I'm adding my Gina K Designs dot runner to that, and then I can attach this card right to the front. Now, you could have stamped the banner right underneath the Merry Christmas or not even add it at all and have a wonderful 1 layer card. But I really do love just the shape of this banner, the sentiment itself, and also the colors. I love having that bright red banner at the bottom. And then one last finishing touch I wanted to add to this is giving this a little bit of a white highlight at the top of the hat. So I am bringing in a white gel pen to do that. I also added just a small dot in the center of the cheeks as well. And this is just the cutest. I cannot get over how cute this Santa is. So I decided I wanted to create one more project, and that was doing a tag. I have one that I die cut out and then done the ink blending to. I also die cut out that Santa head from some plain white cardstock. And I'm going to layer these two pieces together with my liquid glue to help add the stability. Being that it's a tag, it might bounce around a little bit or get shuffled under the tree. So I want to make sure that that is nice and sturdy. I'm going to punch a hole at the top, and I was trying to decide where I wanted that hole to be. I ended up going with kind of over off on the side. So I'm using my good old crocodile that I've had for many years to punch that hole. And then I have some red and white baker's twine that I folded in half, pulled that through the hole, and then I'm going to loop that. Now I'm also going to tie a knot at the top. I really like kind of having my string contained and not kind of flowing all over the place. So I will do a knot at the top. But I really didn't like how that hole just kinda seemed to be like a hole in Santa's head. I know it sounds really awful, but you could leave it like this, but here is a little trick to kind of help hide that a little bit and also dress it up. On the stamp set, we have 2 leaves and some berries. So I took the larger of the leaves and I'm stamping that in rainforest ink. Then I'm gonna bring in the smaller one, and I am going to stamp that in parsley ink. And then for the berries, I believe I'm going to be grabbing cranberry, but poppy would work here. Even honeysuckle or pink lemonade would look really cute here as well. These sets also have coordinating dies for them, so I'm going to line them up and hold them in place with my Post-it tape, and then I'm going to bring in my mini intricate machine again. It just folds out, so when I want to put it away, I fold it up and just kind of set it off on the side of my desk, kind of tucks away since I really don't have a lot of space. And then I'm adding my plates. There's a thicker plate and a thinner plate, and I die cut these pieces out. I'm going to layer them together with some liquid glue, and then I'm going to place some foam squares behind the edges because I want this to hide where that hole is for my tag. So I just added the foam squares around where the hole would be. I'm going to place that right over the top. It's a great addition and also hides that hole for the tag. I still have a few things I want to do to dress this up a little bit. So first I brought in the glossy accents and I'm adding dots of that over the berries. And then I'm going to bring in the Lawn Fawn Prisma glitter. I'm going to sprinkle that over the glossy accents and tap off any excess. Now, some of that glitter is going to stick to my leaves because the ink is still a little bit wet. But once it dries, I can just use a small paintbrush to brush off any of that excess glitter. And there I have this really fun tag. It's nice and sturdy because we layered it up. It's got some sparkle to it that's not going to come off. And I can write a message on the back and my to and from. So there are 2 more ideas for you using the November 2024 Let's Stamp Together kit. I know Megan shared some amazing card projects with you, and I hope you are having as much fun with this one as I am. Thanks so much for spending time with me today.